Howdy folks, and welcome back to Hawkwind's Habitat and our exploration of Darkest Dungeon. When last we left, our party was about mid-dungeon, and I decided to not go through another couple of 15-minute videos getting from room to room and place to place. We now have gotten to the final room in the dungeon. We have cleared out the creatures that were there, and we have received the lovely Quest Complete banner. You can, should you so desire, continue looking around in a particular dungeon. It is quite possible to complete particular quests without actually being done with having looked in every room in the dungeon. In this particular case, with this collection of newbies that we have here, we're going to go ahead and say, yes, we're done. We're going to return to the hamlet. This is our victory screen. You will notice that all of the individual treasures we found are being sold off for us, including this onyx, this emerald. Interestingly, even the items that we had purchased, shovels, food, things like that, are being sold back to the vendor, and we are regaining the money off of them. We have also gained 3,000 gold as part of the quest reward, 4 family crests, and a stun stone. If you'll look at this stun stone, you'll notice something very interesting about the treasure in the game. Each character has 2 trinket slots. This stun stone would be something that would fit in one of those slots. You'll notice that it gives us a plus 20% stun skill chance. So, for example, the illumination attack that our Vestal keeps using that stuns people, well, this would make it 20% more likely to go off. However, like most of the trinkets in the game, this one has a downside. It will be a -2 to her dodge skill. In almost every case, the treasures that you find, you're going to have a downside associated with them. You end up just having to do a balancing act of deciding, is it more worthwhile for me to have the positive effect, or is the negative side effect, does it just invalidate the entire trinket? In which case, you can actually sell the trinket for a pretty decent amount of gold. We also collected 4 busts, 2 deeds, and a portrait. Again, these are all used to unlock levels of service within the various buildings back at the hamlet, where we are headed in just a second. You'll notice that we have the 2 apprentice level adventurers that we started with. Ventress and Bassett have now also gotten to apprentice level 1. However, both Reynard and Bassett have come away with some long-term effects from hanging around in the dungeon. Reynard has come away with hylomania, obsessed with material things. That doesn't sound too serious until you realize that this means that as we're wandering through the dungeon, if we find an abandoned pack, a table, an alchemist's table, he will periodically charge forward and start interacting with that, whether or not you have decided that he should do that. This winds up with these characters frequently getting themselves poisoned, blighted, having other negative effects happening to them. Let's see what happened to Bassett. She also had a negative effect. She is now suffering from necromania. She is fascinated with corpses. If corpses are found just lying around in the dungeon, she will periodically just have to go take a look at them, whether you as the controller decide that she should or should not. Now that we return to the hamlet, we'll be looking at a log of all of the things that happened during the week.
Trouble yourself not with the cost of this crusade. Its noble end affords you broad tolerance in your choice of means.
You will notice that the tavern has unlocked, the abbey has unlocked. Buildings unlocking happens strictly as a function of the number of weeks that you have spent in the game. We notice that Bassett and Ventress have now both leveled up to level 1. Our 4 characters were successful in exploring the ruins. You'll notice over here caretaker goals. This, by the way, is available at any time by clicking on the little scroll down here. We have successfully completed our first foray into the ruins. There are boss monsters throughout the ruins that we need to defeat. A wizened hag, an apprentice necromancer, a siren, swine princes, sonorous prophets, full-blown necromancers instead of apprentices, etc., etc. There is a whole long list of them, following, with the final one being completing the final Darkest Dungeon quest. Our roster goals are to level 1 of every type of character up to level 6. So, we now take a look at the exclamation points. A couple of these are actually left over from the previous screen. The graveyard, if you ever want to come in.
Most will end up here, covered in the poisoned earth, awaiting merciful oblivion.
And visit with the characters that you have gotten killed off, you can come here and do so. Here are your ancestors' memoirs. Anytime you want to come through
In
and
time,
look
you will
at
know the tragic extent of my failings.
the various videos you have unlocked, this is the place where you go. Alright, so let's take a look at the tavern.
Fresh kegs, cards, and curtained rooms promise solace to the weary and broken alike.
In the tavern, you can start working on removing these long-term stress scores. For example, on Ventress and Bassett, you'll notice they've got pretty substantial stress by sliding them into the various activities. As your characters develop various likes and dislikes, some of them will say, I will never do anything but go pray at the Abbey. Other times you will find out that your character got busted cheating at the gambling hall and therefore can never use the gambling hall again for stress relief. If you wish to upgrade any of the various services available to you in the tavern, you will need to spend portraits and crests. The very first thing you do when you spend here is you will increase the amount of stress that's recovered from them utilizing these various things, the bar, the gambling, or the brothel. You will notice that we also have some additional slots here that are nailed up. Those do not get unlocked for you until I believe you get to this third slot on both here in the tavern and at the Abbey. That may seem like it's not a terrifically big deal, but it becomes one as your characters start to demonstrate more and more preferences for the various kinds of stress relief that they want to go through while they are being rested up.
The cobwebs have been dusted, the pews set straight. The Abbey calls to the faithful.
The other big issue is this. Your caretaker will just wander randomly every week from a different form of stress relief to a different form of stress relief. If you have, for example, a character who will do nothing but meditate, right this minute they are out of luck because your caretaker is taking that single slot that is available for meditating characters. If you take a look here at the Abbey, it is upgraded via busts and crests, and again, I think you have to get to this third slot of upgrades before you can open up one of these additional windows. This will become an issue for you. It doesn't seem like one right this minute, but let me tell you, it becomes an issue, especially when you get up to about 12-15 characters or so, and all of them are vying for the same type of stress relief. So, you can sort by stress. Ventress is currently at about 60 stress. When you get to 100 stress, they have a mental check. About 75% of the time, they develop one of these negative quirks. About 25% of the time, they actually will develop a positive quirk. Now, here's the side effect. The positive quirk sticks with them through the remainder of the adventure. The negative quirks come into the slot here, and they are now part of this character's psychological makeup. So, you want to keep these numbers as low as possible. We will go ahead and send Ventress off. We'll send Ventress off to go drink. How's that? We'll park him at the bar We'll have to spend 1,000 gold in order to do that. Now, having done this, you'll notice that the little mug has shown up here above his portrait. Here's the catch. He is now unavailable to you to use for next week's adventure. If you only have 3 characters available to you, you cannot run another adventure. You don't have 4 heroes available for a quest, you will need to recruit more. I actually, on my very first playthrough, managed to grab myself a character named an Abomination. He was the only character left available to me. I attempted to put him in a party with this gentleman, this warrior of light, apprentice crusader. Well, the two of them refused to work together. I was stuck. I had no way of going forward from there, so I actually ended up having to restart the entire game. Luckily for me, I think I was only in week 2 or week 3 at the time. So, since we only have 3 characters available, we'll go take a look at the stagecoach. And there is one of those abominations that I was referring to. Now, Mr. Ventress was living in our ranged slot. A man-at-arms typically will be in either your tank slot, slot 1, or your melee slot, slot 2. A highwayman can be in slot 2 or slot 3. We'll go ahead and hire the highwayman, and we will go ahead and hire the man-at-arms.
Evasive, persistent, righteous traits for a rogue.
Now, having hired those individuals, you will notice despite the fact that Bassett has 49 stress, we don't have another healer available right this second. Nobody else has any healing available to them. So we can make one of 2 decisions. We can either put 2 ranged characters in the party in place of having our healer, or we can risk taking out our already stressed out healer and hope that she doesn't go over the edge. What I will probably do is I will probably do exactly that. I will probably leave her in the party for now, and we'll just do the best we can to reduce her stress. Now, Dismas, as you remember, has got Pistol Shot and Grape Shot Blast available. They are both available from positions 2 and 3. Our new Highwayman has Pistol Shot and Grape Shot Blast available. Open Vein also, which is a bleed attack, is also available from position 2 and 3. What we'll go ahead and do is we will put our new tank, Mober, in position 1. We will put Dismas in position 2. We will put Gressless in position 3. And we will put our very worried Bassett in position 4. I'll go ahead and demonstrate that for you now. This then is going to be our party lineup for our second week going in. You will notice now, having completed a mission in the ruins, we now have 4 missions available to us. We have this skirmish, which is going out and completing 100% of room battles. That leaves us with a Chirurgeon's Charm. This is very useful to have on your Vestals, by the way. That adds plus 15% to their current heals. That can make their heals very powerful. We have another Explore 90% of rooms. We have Complete 100% of room battles. And we have a medium. Mediums will involve camping. So you'll take basically twice as many provisions with you, and halfway through the mission, roughly, you will be able to stop in a room, camp out, and kind of recuperate some of your health, recuperate some of your sanity, and your individual characters, you will know, not only have their regular combat skills, but they also have camping skills. Greslet, for example, can give a pep talk. He can target one companion and reduce their stress damage by 15% for 4 combats. He also has something where he can buff himself for the next 4 combats with more dodge, more speed, but a little less damage on his melee skills and a little less accuracy. You're going to find that there's a real balancing act going on, trying to get all of these various abilities all sorted out and weighed against one another. Well, that's it for our initial introduction to Darkest Dungeon. Hope that everybody got some useful information out of all of this, and I look forward to seeing you again with some of our adventures further on here.